If money rules the world, why did it begin as something no one could spend? No bills, no coins, no banks, no dollar, just people trying to answer one dangerous question. Who owes what? To whom? Most people learn the same story. A farmer had grain, a fisherman had fish. They swapped. Barter got awkward, so humans invented money. It sounds neat. It sounds logical. It is probably not how the story really began. Anthropologists have argued for decades that no pure barter world has ever been documented as the simple starting point from which money emerged. In small communities, exchange was often built on reciprocity, memory, and obligation instead. Long before money, humans were already moving value across distance. Archaeologists have found evidence of long-distance movement of obsidian, pigments, shells, and beads deep in prehistory, and Neolithic settlements such as Çatalhöyük depended on exchange networks reaching far beyond the local landscape. But that was not money yet. That was something older. Connection, alliance, trust. In a tiny group, trust can live in memory. You help me today, I help you later. No receipt, no spreadsheet, no price tag. Anthropologists call one common form of this generalized reciprocity exchange, where people do not keep an exact ledger because everyone expects life to balance things over time. That works until the village becomes a city, because cities create a new problem. Once strangers begin trading, memory stops being enough. Someone has to remember the barley, the labor, the livestock, the silver, the loan, the due date, and that is where the origin of money gets real. In ancient Mesopotamia, around the 4th millennium BCE, writing did not begin with poems. It began with counting. The evidence is sitting on clay tablets. The British Museum holds a late Uruk tablet from about 3100 to 3000 BCE recording beer with numerical signs. Other early texts from Uruk tracked grain, animals, and rations for expanding temple economies. In other words, some of the first writing on earth was administrative. It was economic. It was about keeping score. That changes everything, because once value can be written down, value can survive memory. And once obligation can survive memory, debt can travel through time. Clay tablets in Mesopotamia recorded loans of barley and silver long before coinage, and later records show institutions managing stocks, repayments, and legal claims. Money, at its deepest level, was becoming a way to measure promises. Here is the twist most people never hear. The first breakthrough may not have been a medium of exchange. It may have been a unit of account, a language of value, a way to say, this much barley equals this much silver, or this much labor, or this much debt. In 3 accounts, barley could serve as the accounting unit, while silver payments were converted into barley equivalents. And in other accounts, silver itself became the balancing unit. That is not primitive barter. That is abstraction. But abstraction alone is not enough. People still needed objects the wider community would accept. So across the ancient world, money took physical shape. Cowrie shells, salt, livestock, metal. They worked for one reason. Enough people agreed they worked. Cowries were durable, portable, and hard to fake. Salt preserved food and held value. In some places, even cattle could be ranked within a recognized value system. But commodity money had a weakness. Every trade invited a new question. Is it real? How much is it worth? Who says so? Then came the stamp. In Asia Minor, during the 7th century BCE, the earliest coins began appearing in electrum, a natural alloy of gold and silver. Lydia became the first kingdom clearly associated with this innovation. Archaeological finds from Ephesus and Sardis place early electrum coinage in late 7th century BCE contexts, and later, Lydian coins carried the lion emblem of the ruling dynasty. A stamped coin did something revolutionary. It told the marketplace, "You do not have to test this every time. Authority already has." That is the moment money becomes political. A coin is not just metal, it is certified trust. It can pay soldiers, collect taxes, project power, build empires. And once power enters the story, money stops being only economic. It becomes institutional. Coins were powerful. They were also heavy. So China pushed the idea further. During the Tang and Song periods, merchants began using receipts from deposit shops rather than hauling strings of copper coins across long distances. Then, in the 1020s, the Song state took over the system and issued the world's first government paper money. Think about how radical that is. Money was no longer the valuable thing. Money was the claim on the valuable thing. Europe eventually learned the same lesson in a different way. In Britain, goldsmiths issued receipts for money left in safekeeping. Those receipts began circulating because they were easier to move than metal. When the Bank of England was founded in 1694, its notes were deposit receipts that gradually turned into banknotes, still carrying the language of a promise to pay. By now, the pattern is clear. The history of money is the history of making trust lighter. Then the anchor changed. For centuries, paper money gained credibility because it pointed back to precious metal. But in August 1971, President Richard Nixon ended the dollar's convertibility into gold, a move that pushed the world decisively toward the modern fiat era. After that, money's value no longer rested on redemption into gold. It rested on law, state power, central banking, taxation, and public confidence. Money had become trust, backed by institutions. And now we arrive at the strangest chapter. Most money today is not paper at all. It is data. The Bank of England explains that bank deposits are the form of money most people use, and that when banks make loans, they create new deposits. The Bundesbank says the same thing. Banks create book money by making accounting entries, not by simply passing along someone else's savings. In a way, the ancient clay tablet never disappeared. It just turned into a banking system. Then Bitcoin arrives and asks the oldest question in a new language. What if money could move online without a bank in the middle? Satoshi Nakamoto's white paper says the goal is peer-to-peer electronic cash that works without a trusted third party, replacing institutional trust with cryptographic proof and distributed consensus. That is not the end of the money story. It is a new answer to the same old problem. How do you make trust travel? So where did money really come from? Not from a single king, not from a single coin, not from a single civilization. Money emerged in layers. First, reciprocity, then memory, then debt, then accounting, then units of value, then commodity money, then stamped coinage, then paper claims, then banks, then fiat, then digital ledgers. The body keeps changing. The soul stays the same. Money is not valuable because it is metal, or paper, or code. It is valuable because enough people, at the same time, accept the same story about it. And the oldest version of that story is this. Humans needed a way to make value, debt, and trust travel farther than memory could carry them.